What is amounts owed? And I had to do this video because it actually was a light bulb or an aha moment for me based on how your credit scores are being calculated. This is something we haven't hounded up on enough, but I guarantee you we will, and I guarantee you to help you in your score because it was something that was new for me in a sense. I knew, but you'll see what I mean, and you know how it can help you increase your score as it relates to this particular factor on your credit report. What up, you got Mr. Smith, point 5 of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and in this brief video I want to talk to you about the second factor of credit. You see, we always talk about payment history, and I skipped over payment history while recording this back-to-back content that I'm recording right now. I skipped over payment history because, you know, I've broken it down in so many different ways, and I'll do some more videos, but basically it's paying your bills on time or making sure that you don't have any late payments on your report. If you can clean those up with a goodwill letter, negotiating with the entities, deleting it if necessary, if it makes sense to do so. It got to make sense to do so. One late payment, but you had strong payment history, might not be a reason for you to delete anything, but just to kind of keep that in mind. But payment history, and usually we only talk about credit utilization, credit history, credit mix, and then new credit. But in credit utilization, I'm going to have to switch that terminology sometimes and let people know that utilization overall matters, not just with credit cards. A lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on credit cards themselves, but I want you to understand the importance of utilization as a whole. So I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to read it and then just kind of unpack it in a way that you can digest it and hopefully apply it and take your credit score to the whole next level, because this can change the game for some people. I'll say that. So what is amounts owed? In a very general sense, amounts owed refers to how much debt you carry in total. However, the amount of debt you have is not as significant to your credit score as your credit utilization. So that's why we put more emphasis on credit utilization, because it's highly important. It's highly important, but I don't want to skip over the importance of what I'm about to share in addition to that. When a high percentage of a person's available credit is being used, this can indicate that a person is overextended and is more likely to make late or missed payments. Amounts owed on accounts determine 30% of a FICO score. So that's 165 points. 30% of the overall amount of points that you have available, that's 165 points that comes from amounts owed. FICO research has found that your level of debt is predictive of future credit performance because the amount owed typically impacts your ability to pay all monthly credit obligations on time. Not to worry if you have debt. It doesn't automatically make you a high-risk borrower. However, as your balances increase, so does the probability of difficulty meeting monthly payments on time, but that's just part of what determines your credit score. Part of the science of scoring is determining how much is too much for a given credit profile. Your FICO scores take into account several factors. There are 5 factors that the amounts owed category looks at. The amounts owed on all accounts. So all accounts, not just credit cards. So I want you to understand that all of your accounts matter, and I'll unpack how and what you can do to, you know, put yourself in the best position possible. Note that even if you pay off your credit cards in full each month, your credit report may show a balance on these cards. The total balance of your last statement is generally the amount that will show in your credit report. So sometimes it takes, 60 days in order to report properly because it's based on the past. The amount owed on different types of accounts. This also is a factor that matters as it relates to amounts owed. In addition to the overall amount you owe, your FICO scores consider the amount you owe on specific types of accounts, such as credit cards versus installment loans. How many accounts have balances? A larger number of accounts with amounts owed can indicate high risk of overextension. Credit utilization ratio on revolving accounts. So this is what we put a lot of emphasis on as it relates to your credit utilization. So I won't read this verbatim, but just understand that if you have a credit card, you want to get in the habit of either paying it off in full. Use the card as much as you like, but make sure you have the ability to pay it off in full every week or keep that utilization under 10%. In the single digits is what we recommend. So you can either pay it off in full and not even think about the percentages, or keep it under 10%, using it, paying it off, using it, paying it off, because they like to see usage and it helps strengthen your scores. And then if you have a certain kind of credit card, you also qualify for different points, which can make some of the expenses that you would have spent money on free if you accumulate enough points. That's another video. So that's what credit utilization is. So I'm going to skim past that. How much of the installment loan amount still owe compared with the original loan amount? Now, this is what I wanted to harp on because we didn't spend a lot of time in previous videos. Yes, you want to be paying off debt. Yes, you want to get out of debt, become debt free, to the best of your ability, unless that debt is attached to some type of asset, because that can make the debt make sense. If it's not attached to some type of asset, then, you kind of robbing yourself of cash flow. And we know because we become debt free, paid it off, got debt free again, paid it off, and then did some other things that wasn't necessarily the best decision to make. It's just certain shifts happened, and then we understood, you know what? Now this is affecting our cash flow. So let's knock this out as soon as possible and be vigilant, vigilant about it, due to the fact that this is money we could be putting somewhere else. We knew that, but when we felt it from a standpoint of, you know what? This is $1,000 that I could be investing versus paying down some debt. This is $100 a month I could be investing versus paying down debt. Then you realize that lost opportunity cost, how it's costing you because you don't have the ability to pay or invest in certain things because your money is tied up in making somebody else wealthy and paying off their debt, paying off debt on money that you borrowed, and sometimes it might not be attached to anything that was generating revenue. So just understanding that. So how much of the installment loans amounts is still owed compared to the original loan amount? For example, if you borrowed $10,000 to buy a car and you have paid back $2,000, you still owe with interest more than 80% of the original loan. Paying down installment loans is a good sign that you're able and willing to manage and repay debt. The amounts of debt that you owe is an important part of your credit and makes up 30% of your FICO score. Keep track of your debt and credit utilization. So this is taking utilization to the next level, not just revolving debt, also installment debt. So if you borrow $10,000 like they stated and you still owe $8,000 plus the interest attached to it, that's nowhere near the 10% that we want you to be, or near the 0% or zero balance altogether. So you have to get antsy about wanting to pay that off because it plays a part in your score. But the light at the end of the tunnel is that it actually plays a part in helping your score. Sometimes people think just the on-time payments do something, and that's great, it does. But getting that balance down so that the amount you owe in comparison to the amount you borrow helps you tremendously as it relates to this factor. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. I know we spend time talking about credit utilization, but now we know that you want to get those balances down. And this is why I kind of feel, I ain't going to say bad, but, for the people who got all of this student loan debt, and student loans and college debt is proven to have been scammy due to the fact that jobs aren't even really concerned about your degree. That's just a piece of paper. So a person claiming, I got this degree, I got that degree, what skill do you have is what they want to know. How can you help our company better, regardless of how well you did on some tests and studied some books or some outdated information, because the information changes so rapidly. What you was learning in your beginning years as a freshman has nothing to do, or very little to do, with how we operate our company today. So you need to have some up-to-date skills, and people who have college debt have bought into the dream of a better degree, a higher degree equals higher pay. But now the egg is being slapped in a lot of faces. If the college industry doesn't pivot, then they're in trouble. I'm not even concerned about my kids going to college. I more so want them to learn some things, get some skill sets, and if that's something they decide, then I want you to go in there the right way. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be us as the entrepreneurs who create the new wave of information that's applicable today that you can take and run with. Why is that important? Because if you understand the importance of tapping into skill sets and monetizing your value, your network, now you can get out of debt faster. Now you can pay certain things off sooner. And now you don't bog yourself down or your children down with some student loan debt in hopes that is going to make their living situation better. No, that's not the case. So I said what I said. Hopefully this resonates and helps someone. That's all I got for this video. Mr. Smith, signing out.